Hello, welcome to KitPlus TV. It's only about 7 weeks until the big show of the year in Europe, IBC 2023, and here to tell us about how things are going, all the plans that are in action, we've got Steve and Jaisica. Hi, Steve and Jaisica. How are you doing?
Hi guys, very well, thanks.
Good, good.
Hi, Rachel.
Great, yes. So we had the IBC press conference the other day, and a few things came up, and yeah, it was very positive. You mentioned at the event that 3/4 of the people at IBC recently surveyed valued large-scale events, which is a, obviously a very positive thing for IBC. Steve, tell us a little bit more about what you found out, what they should expect from IBC when they get there in September.
Yeah, no problem at all. So yeah, we carried out some extensive research, post-show and over the course of the year as well, through other focus groups, and our research showed really clearly that face-to-face remains critical for people. Yeah. I think seeing products, seeing new technologies up close and getting their hands on it, obviously networking, discussing specific projects more openly, you can really only do it at face-to-face events. And I think the larger events, such as IBC in particular, offer a real kind of efficient means of doing that. For all stakeholders in the industry, whether it's vendors or buyers. And the enforced break due to the pandemic really underlined this quite vividly, in fact. So of all the things that the research highlighted, I think seeing new products and new technologies was the number one objective for most attendees. And that was closely followed by learning and networking. So the event we're looking to deliver this year will reflect that. So we've got over 1,200 companies to date, so a wealth of products and technologies to look at, a comprehensive content program over 4 days, so the learning and the education element very clearly covered there, and a lot more networking opportunities, a lot more structured networking opportunities. That came very high in the feedback as well. So yeah. All the plans are coming together well. As you mentioned, only 7 weeks to go. Slightly nerve-wracking thinking like that. But yeah, all looking good right now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So probably another one for Steve. Obviously, exhibitors form the heart of any big show like IBC, and you recently formed the exhibitor steering group, made up of exhibitors sharing what they want out of the show going forwards, I'm assuming. So tell us what you've learned from them and what views you've taken on board for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So the new group's been great to work with already. It launched, as you say, at NAB back in April, and the individuals were kind of targeted and kind of selected specifically to be part of a more collaborative group. So it's very much a kind of a two-way dialogue, which I'm already delighted seeing some of the results from that. So the idea or principle behind it was to set up the group to listen, actively engage with, and gain input from them to help build the IBC they want to see moving forward. So we brought in some fresh thinking, some new faces from across the exhibitor community, various regions, various technologies, various halls within the show. And in its ongoing form, that's helping us to better understand what they're looking for and hopefully help better shape the exhibitor experience and the attendee experience, not just for this year, but in the long term already. So I know some of the things, even since April, we put in place we have a new comms channel for them, so they're able to collaborate and kind of have conversations outside the structured meetings, which generally take place 4 times a year. We're given greater access for exhibitors to the conference sessions as a direct piece of feedback that came through very strongly from that first meeting, in fact. We've also going to launch an esports tour for the first time at IBC this year, and again that came straight out of feedback from the steering group. And I think medium term, longer term, we want them to help focus on specific topics and issues and areas of interest for us, for our exhibitors, whether that's new target audiences, ESG initiatives, and maximising ROI for exhibitors. So it's early days, but yeah, already delighted to see some of the results and some of the enthusiasm that those guys are kind of offering us already. It's a delight to work with them.
To just add on to that, Steve, did you get any feedback regarding? Last year, I think, was the first time that IBC had gone from 5 days to 4 days. Did you get any feedback on whether that worked better for exhibitors?
I think it certainly worked better for most on the whole. I think coming back after a 2-year absence, when obviously there was some debate over 4 versus 5 days, it just felt natural that, you know, if we were going to try it and look at a 4-day model approach, that was the year to do it. And I wouldn't say universally. There's always some people who want to keep the 5 days, but I think more often than not, people were very happy with that. Last year, for certain, was a 4-day show, and I think it worked well for everyone. This year's show will be 4 days again, but yeah, longer term than that, I wouldn't like to say at the moment. The show's grown exponentially this year from last year, so for now it's 4 days, and last year it was taken very well. So we'll see where we go.
Cool.
Yeah, 1,200 exhibitors is getting close to where you always were. You know, so that's good going. So something that I've picked up on in your presentations when we've had press conferences and so on is the 3 pillars. Can you give us a rundown of what the 3 pillars are for IBC23?
Shall I chime in here, Steve?
So probably more your area than mine.
Yeah. Go on, Jaisica.
So we thought that we'd really create a backbone for the narrative of IBC this year, and to do that we selected 3 pillars that kind of form the thread and run through all the panels, the presentations, the show floor, IBC365, so that everyone's getting a consistent story and a consistent narrative throughout the show, however you consume the content. So those 3 pillars are really around, firstly, transformative technology. So obviously that's the kind of heartland of IBC. So we're exploring all the technologies that are reshaping the media landscape and driving innovation. So whether that's AI, whether that's 5G and connectivity, we're looking at those technologies that are really making a difference in the application of those technologies in the media and entertainment sector. The second one is shifting business models. So we're looking at new emerging business models, what the future of the ecosystem looks like. So whether that's the kind of boom of fast channels or whether it's kind of new streaming platforms that are being launched, what is the kind of business model of the future, and where is broadcasting and media going? And then the final pillar is really around people and purpose. And this is really to spark conversation around important cultural elements in the media and entertainment sector. So things like inclusion, things like ethics of AI, and sustainable, creating a sustainable industry and how we go about doing that. So in a nutshell, those are the 3 pillars.
3 pillars.
Cool. And you mentioned in Pillar 1, AI, 5G, and the new key tech trends that you're going to be spotlighting this year. Tell us how the Accelerator program is addressing some of those trends and innovations.
Yeah, I'm happy to give you a bit more detail on that. So, you know, we're very proud of the progress that we've made with the Accelerators program over the last 4 years now, actually, and nowhere are those kind of emerging tech areas demonstrated better than on that program, on that initiative. So we've got some amazing projects as part of the program this year. We've got 2 5G based projects, one looking at extended reality production, and another looking at motion capture, performing arts. Edge computing features heavily on an end-to-end live production in the cloud project. And then we have metadata, for example, and that particular project is looking at content authentication and personalization using AI. And we've even got one that's focusing on synthetic media, using synthetic humans, avatars, for better accessibility to wider audiences. So yes, there's some amazing projects and some amazing results of last year's projects as well to come and see and discuss with the teams down there. So the Accelerator Zone this year, we're moving to Hall 3 along with the innovation stage. And yeah, I'd really encourage everyone to head down there because there really are some game-changing results being produced from the Accelerator program. I'm very proud of it.
You mentioned the innovation stage. Am I right in thinking there was the innovation zone? Is that the same? Are we talking the same thing there?
Not quite. So
right.
the Accelerator.
Yeah.
So yes, we've got the accelerator zone, we've got the innovation stage, and then for those that remember the future zone,
That's
going
right.
back
Future
a few
zone.
years.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately we didn't have that in 2022. It was very much kind of a back to basics approach for our return. But this year we will be having the IBC Tech Zone, which is the newly imagined future zone, if you like, and that's being powered by and worked on in partnership with the EBU. So that will actually be in Hall 8. They've got up to 6 kind of future tech-based projects being demonstrated in that area. So that's over in Hall 8 this year. So again, something new that we didn't have in 2022.
And are there other new features on the show floor, or is that the new feature really that you want people to, you know?
So those are the main change, but I suppose that the first thing most people will notice when they come into the venue this year is that it's bigger. So as I say, we've opened up Hall 3, we've extended Halls 5, Halls 12, and Hall 8. Because we have to accommodate 43,000 square meters and 1,200 exhibitors. So they'll be the main changes people will notice immediately. But then the tech zone, the move of the innovation zone, and we've also got an extra theatre in Hall 5, content everywhere. So they're the main things that people will notice different from 2022.
Yeah,
cool. I think this is a Jaisica question. Sessions on the show floor, how are those shaping up?
Yeah, so as Steve said, there's lots of content, lots of stages in lots of halls. So we have the Showcase Theatre, which is in Hall 12, and there you'll find some of the big brands like Accenture, Google, Microsoft, Zixi, and they're all putting on some great content. It's a really popular stage, so head down to Hall 12 if you want to see those brands speaking. We've also got the innovation stage, which is in Hall 3, that Steve also spoke about, and that's where our amazing accelerator sessions are taking place. So you'll see some really cool projects. They're really bleeding edge projects, so really at the forefront of innovation. So it's well worth heading down to the innovation stage. And then again, as Steve mentioned, we've got content everywhere. And this year we've got 2 theatres. So the first one is being sponsored by LTN. The second one is being sponsored by Tencent. But it's always popular, content everywhere. Sessions are always really popular. So there's loads of content going on the show floor, and they're shaping up really well.
Cool. Is all the content coming on the show floor, or there's still, there's the content in the forum and so on? You've got speakers you can go and watch on stage, haven't you? I think
absolutely.
Down Evan Shapiro's one, yeah.
Yeah, so the show floor content is really about the technology providers and the big companies who are showcasing innovation within their own organisations. And then the 2-day conference, which takes place on the Friday and Saturday of IBC, that's more thought leadership. And the Friday is really more around that pillar of sort of business. The changing business landscape. So it's looking around the ecosystem and new business models within our sector.
So how are the speakers lining up for the conference on the first couple of days there?
Really good, really exciting. It's really going to be a truly global conference. So as you mentioned, we've got Evan Shapiro, who's opening the conference on Friday. He's a well-known media cartographer based in the States, and he'll be giving the audience a really thought-provoking sort of background into what's happening in media and where the opportunities lie, really. And then we've got a session on Gen Alpha and how do you get ready for Gen Alpha? What do broadcasters and brands need to be doing now? And we've got Fiona Campbell, who's the youth controller for BBC iPlayer and BBC 3 on that panel. Which is quite exciting, really sort of forward-looking. And then over from India, we've got the founders of the Indian OTT platform, AHA. So we've got Alu Bobby and Ajit Thakur, who'll be talking about sort of pursuing the power of global and what their future initiatives are with AHA. And then, as I mentioned, FAST is a real sort of conversation starter this year. It's a hot topic, and we've got a fireside chat plus a panel on FAST and how to really monetize FAST channels. So that will feature the likes of Valerio Motti, VP of FAST Channels at Fremantle, We've got some of the leadership team from Fuse Media, so that's quite exciting. And then on Saturday, it's really focusing more on technology and creativity and the sort of intersection between the two. So, for instance, we've got Ralph Lee, who's the CEO of BBC Studios, speaking, and we've got Natalia Tartachuk. She's the Chief Architect and VP of Weta Tools from Unity, and she'll be talking about how real-time technology was used in films like Avatar and Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And then we've got movie labs that are back again with very senior execs from studios like Sony, Paramount, and Universal.
So, as if that's not all enough, Jaisica, you've also got the Change Maker sessions as well. They're back this year, which is fantastic. What can people expect to see there?
Yeah, so come to the 2-day conference on Friday and Saturday, and then on Sunday and Monday we kind of switch gears and look at the people and purpose pillar. And we started this last year, and it was really really popular, a really sort of welcome schedule of content to the IBC programme. So again, we are looking at topics like gender equality, workplace culture, ethics in AI, and how to advance sustainability. So some of my highlights will be a fireside chat with Jabbar Sada, who's the Global HR Director for BBC Studios. He'll be talking about how they're really putting their people first and what their future plans are for building an inclusive culture. We've got another thought-provoking speech from Akwazi Ansar. He's the founder and director of Omroep Zwart, based in the Netherlands, and he'll be sharing his personal story and his vision for a digital-first landscape, which is equitable, inclusive, and accessible. As I mentioned, we've also got a really, really cool session on digital ethics and responsible AI, which is going to be moderated by the current SIMPTE president, Renard Jenkins, and will feature some excellent leaders in tech, like Alexandra Husno from Women in Immersive Tech, and Marla Ramkrishnan, who is the co-founder and chief product officer of Kuvo. So we're working with a lot of groups. We're working with Women in Streaming Media, we're working with Rise, we're working with Soho Media Club, we're working with groups to really collaborate and put together a really robust programme which covers a lot of the sort of cultural side of media and entertainment.
Now, I'm getting that the show floor content is probably free to see, free to engage with, and maybe there are others. Where am I going with this? Is there a good reason to get a premium pass? What does it offer? What does a premium pass offer?
There are loads of good reasons to get a premium pass.
Good.
So as Steve mentioned earlier, a lot of the feedback from last year was that people really value structured networking.
Right.
So to get that kind of additional layer of actually meeting some of the speakers and getting to talk to the community and really kind of do business and meet new contacts, we've introduced a premium lounge, which is part of the premium pass. And if you have a premium pass, you get access to the lounge where there'll be more sort of intimate sessions. So we've got exclusive fireside chats, we've got round tables and happy hour drinks where you can really sort of spend some time talking to some of the key players in the industry. So the premium pass is more of an experience pass, and I'd say that access to the conference gives you that knowledge and that kind of inspiration and learning, but to really get the full experience, I would really recommend buying a premium pass.
And can we expect to see much on live sports in the content programme?
It's a big year coming
up.
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, across the show there'll be content around live sports, and obviously we've got lots of exciting events coming up, like the Rugby World Cup and the Olympics. We'll definitely be having a session on the Olympics in Paris next year, and how various organisations are gearing up towards that and broadcasting that event around the world. So we're working behind the scenes to kind of curate those sessions currently. And then in the Content Everywhere sessions, we've got 3 case studies which show how streaming technologies are really augmenting coverage for sort of top tier sports like the IPL and FIFA World Cup 2022. So yes, sports will feature.
Sports will be good. Fantastic. So now this is one of those questions that's, you know, it could be a little bit awkward, but something that was a bit controversial last year, Steve, was the debacle at Schiphol. I mean, it was, you know, they did. Yeah, they did ruin it. They did suffer a bit, didn't they? So, have you heard that anything has changed at Schiphol that might, you know, help them manage the probably thousands of extra passengers that you'll be putting through the airport on Monday?
Yeah, I think debacle is a good word. You know, what happened at Schiphol last year, and particularly on the Monday, was clearly unacceptable.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you can imagine, we've been in deep conversation with the RAI, with Schiphol, with all stakeholders in the supply chain, to make sure that, you know, to seek assurances, I suppose, you know, that will not happen again. What I can say, as a way of reassuring people at this stage, is there's been significant investment at Schiphol. There's been a lot more training, so they've recruited a lot more staff, they've invested a lot of staff, they've invested in training of those staff. There's been an independent investigation. They've got a new CEO. You know, I was there last week and had a very smooth journey, kind of back through Schiphol, but clearly it's different when we add a big trade show into the mix as well. But yeah, there have been improvements. The early signs are good, but we remain pushing them very, very hard to make sure they can give those additional assurances for anyone that was affected last year and, you know, still has those nightmares about it, quite frankly. So yes, the signs are encouraging. Still some more work for us to do to negotiate with them, but it's certainly been some big improvements since all those factors that contributed to what happened at Schiphol on the Monday last year. Yeah. But yeah, overall, we're still very much committed to Amsterdam. It's been a great location for IBC for the best part of 30 years now, and yeah, rest assured, we are working with all the stakeholders and all the kind of the parties involved to make sure those reassurances are provided so that people can come and only worry about, you know, their meetings and seeing the products and doing the networking and seeing the content that we've been describing today.
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot more interest in Eurostar this year, I think, than in previous years.
Yeah.
But
I'm surprised. Yeah.
As long as people get there, that's fine.
Yeah.
So finally, obviously important issue to us all and to the industry as a whole is sustainability. Can you give us some insight into IBC's initiatives in that area? And also, Mike mentioned during the press conference the donation room. Can you tell us how that works as well, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've we look at sustainability from, I suppose, several angles really. As a company, for example, we're carbon neutral and we're working towards being ISO 4001 accredited. As an event, we've got a research project underway in association with the IBM, which aims to better understand how our audience travels to Amsterdam, where they stay, and various other factors. And that will help us benchmark our current position and identify the ongoing steps we need to take to reduce the environmental impact of a show like IBC. You mentioned the donation room. Yeah, we've been doing that for a few years actually, and it's been very successful, where exhibitors can leave anything behind that they've been showing on the show, from furniture to screens, PCs, for example, and they get donated through various initiatives throughout Amsterdam. So that's just one initiative that we've been doing for a number of years. Obviously, we try and use as much sustainable material as possible in our own build on site, and we source partners and work with partners who also have sustainable materials in their builds, for example. And the RAI itself has won a number of awards over the years for its own zero waste initiatives, and that's really important. That we're working with partners who share the same goals and objectives. And then, as Jaisica has kind of referenced a couple of times, sustainability is a key theme throughout the conference program and the Changemaker program as well. So, as I say, we look at it on a number of levels. We've got some strong initiatives in place already. I would urge anyone to kind of check out the details on the donation room in particular. It does go to great causes, and they're very grateful for the items and the kit that exhibitors kindly leave behind for the City of Amsterdam.
Yeah, so I'm just going to add on the content side of things. So, as Steve said, we've got sustainability features in the Changemakers program, but also some of our owners are focusing on sustainability in their sessions. So the likes of IEEE and SCTE are really sort of focusing on sustainability in their sessions that they put on at IBC. And we've also got a new podcast, IBC365 podcast, which is launching just before IBC, which is called the Media Changemakers podcast. And you'll find in there that there's some episodes which kind of focus on climate change and climate anxiety. So we've got, for instance, Will Attenborough, you'll recognise the surname, talking about what action we need to take. So we're sort of drip feeding the content throughout 365, throughout the content programs at IBC, so that the message is really getting out there.
You mentioned podcasts. It's an interesting thing. If someone just really cannot get to IBC, there's nothing like being there and engaging and seeing people in person. But will at some point any of the content be available recorded, whether it be in podcast or on YouTube or on various IBC365 channels, etc.? Is it available after the show at any time?
Yeah, a combination of those. So definitely the podcast, which will be in the run up to IBC. We'll be filming certain sessions, so you'll be able to see the highlights on demand afterwards. And obviously we've got IBC365, where you'll see various write-ups of sessions and interviews with speakers. So there's various ways of consuming that content.
Yeah,
cool. So I think we're nearly finished, aren't we? But just to wrap up, just to summarise, maybe, I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe 30 seconds each.
Clearly you are.
Yeah, maybe 30 seconds each of what will people visiting the show notice different to 2022 IBC? What are the major shouting points for this year that will surprise people in a good way? Steve, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. Go on then. Well, yeah, as I said earlier, I think the size of it, the scale of it, will be significantly bigger. You'll see more exhibitors. You'll see more square footage. We've invested a lot in making sure that we're kind of minimising crowds and queues on day one, following people's feedback from last year. And I think as I don't want to steal Jaisica's thunder, but some of that structured networking and some of those content sessions, with the expanded number of theatres, the EBU Tech Zone, for example, there's lots to see new. So if you thought you saw it all in 2022, make sure you still come to 23, because there's tons more new stuff to see.
Okay, Jaisica, hopefully he hasn't stolen your thunder.
But I'd just add that there's a lot of there is a lot of content, but I think the key change is that we created a really consistent narrative across everything, and but really differentiated program as well across the thing. So if you're going to the conference, you'll have a certain experience, premium pass and another experience, change makers. So everything that you will go to will have its own experience. And we've collaborated with a lot of organisations and businesses this year to really create a great experience for everyone. So I think it's all about content and collaboration, really.
Yeah. People that want a premium pass, is that something they would buy during the registration process, or can they buy it afterwards?
Well, online beforehand or at the show. Yeah.
Both, either or. So just head online, whether that's in advance or at the show, you can purchase a premium pass.
Cool.
And one other final thing I should say in terms of potential new things that people will be able to see, we're just in the process of finalising our approach to reintroducing our esports and gaming focus. People may remember we did a big esports showcase back in 2019. So I mentioned we're having the esports tour. Watch this space over the coming days, weeks, for more announcements on our focus on esports and gaming as well. Definitely a big area of focus for people.
Excellent, cool. Steve, Jaisica, thank you very much indeed for your time today. Great to see you.
Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you in Amsterdam.
So that's it from us today. Do keep an eye on KitPlus.com for all the news leading up to IBC. And of course, we have coming up later in August our live marathon session, where we'll be here with over 100 IBC exhibitors during the day. More news on that later, but that's it for today. Thanks for watching.